Rosalía is back with a very, very big, bold statement type album with LUX. This is not only just a return from Rosalía, but it's a completely new shift in her sound, in the way she approaches music, and how she has completely blindsided, I think, a lot of people with this new album. I think her previous work was really good, and she showed that she was a great artist already, no doubt. But this album incorporates so much more of a classical sound that we have heard from her before, and we probably weren't quite expecting up until Berghain came out. That track was a completely mind-boggling song, honestly. Like listening to that in real time was just bizarre. You just did not see it coming. The strings, the everything about it was just so over the top. It was bombastic. The classical feel. It kind of sounds like a friggin' like Dolce and Gabbana advert type song. It was just totally out of nowhere. It's got Björk and Eve Toomer on it, who I don't necessarily think are at their absolute best on the song, personally, but I think it's really cool to see them make such a bold feature and being like the lead single for a new Rosalía album when we've heard her do like reggaeton and Spanish pop and like flamenco and things like that before. Like you just didn't really see this coming, and it really set the tone of the album, in my opinion, because it just made you go into it thinking, what on earth is going to happen? What on earth are we going to get? And it really lived up. Nothing on the album goes quite that level, I don't think. I don't think we get anything on the level of that, as that kind of like really over the top sharp sound. But we do get a lot of really beautifully arranged songs, some incredibly like operatic vocals throughout, some really like leaning into classical moments that feel very traditional and feel very like, pulling from very many years ago type of music. It's just really nice to see her delve into this and successfully do it too, in my opinion. I think this is just a really, really well put together album with such a vision behind it. I managed to grab a few translations of some of the songs. Unfortunately, I'm not like the speaker of any of the languages that she attempts, because by the way, it ain't just Spanish on this album. She goes for like 10 or 12 languages, I think, overall. Like Italian, she's just going in on it all over the place with all these languages. And I don't speak any of them, apart from the occasional times where she says something in English. That's the only thing I can speak, I'm afraid. So I have grabbed some translations, but unfortunately, I'm not like, an expert in exactly what she said on every song. Some of the translations might not be perfect, that kind of stuff. But the gist of what I'm getting throughout this album is that you're getting a lot more religious themes throughout, spiritual themes, and exploration of things that we haven't really seen her do before. Really unique approaches to those tracks. And yeah, it's just really interesting to pay attention to. I'm impressed with the scope, the richness, the detail behind the production on a lot of these tracks. Reliquia, which is like the Relic song. Like the outro is so strange and zany. It feels very Björk, who obviously ends up on this album. But I do feel like that influence is coming through, not just through the fact that Björk is a feature, but also that kind of like experimental vision on some of these songs to kind of take them in new directions and push the sound of what you can really do with the previous sounds Rosalía has played with. Like it's just a completely new way to reinterpret the things we've heard from her before. The instrumental travels with her on Divinize in such a chamber pop type way as well. I think that's really cool. The lyrics on Reliquia as well, really interesting, talking about how I'm your relic, how I'm always giving my heart away, going to these different cities, these different places, but none of them are really like coming to me, or people aren't really like staying with me. I'm always sacrificing myself, and I end up becoming a relic. Really interesting lyrics there. The complexities behind the instrumental on tracks like Mio, Cristo, Piange, Diamante, like the way the ending just crescendos in such a cool way with the operatic vocals. There's just so much going on here that we've never heard her do before, and yet she absolutely maximalizes everything. Everything feels so huge, everything feels so expansive, but it's not done for the sake of it. And I feel like I've said that in other reviews before, where like other artists have kind of felt like they're pushing the sound to really high like lengths or like to this high end, but the emotion isn't really behind it, or the power in what the singer is saying isn't necessarily behind it. But even though I'm not even understanding the languages that Rosalía is speaking in, you feel every word. You feel it. She has such power behind her voice. I don't know where this power has all of a sudden come from, because she's always been a fantastic singer, do not get me wrong, but she has taken herself to a new level on this album. She is reaching like insanely stunning vocal moments. Like, I'm getting a lot of Natalia Lafourcade throughout. Like, I'm just feeling that emotion like I get from her music. And she is also an amazing Spanish-speaking singer that deserves way more flowers. Thankfully, Rosalía is getting her flowers in real time, but hopefully more people will listen to Natalia after this album, because, yeah, amazing stuff, and a comparison that's very apt. And if it weren't for the fact that you can just feel it in her voice already, translate the lyrics on La Perla. Like, it's such a sweet sounding song with really delicate vocals, but then when you look at the lyrics, it's like, oh my god, they are scathing, they are impactful. Honestly, if the Lily Allen album was written this well, I'd have maybe been on board with that, because I feel the emotion and the frustration in her voice, despite the fact that it sounds so beautiful, and yet it's delivered in such a somber way. But yeah, you really feel that she's attacking this man and calls him like a walking red flag. She says he's an emotional terrorist. That might be an interesting translation that's ended up coming out that way, because in English you would never really say somebody's an emotional terrorist, but I love that as an expression. That is hilarious to say about somebody. Whoever stays with you gets drained. Just so many attacking lines about against this man. Clearly has wronged her, and clearly has not done her well. But yeah, that kind of look into these kinds of love escapades, I guess, on the album are kind of throughout and scattered throughout. When again you do look into what the lyrics are saying, it's really well written. I love the way flamenco does make a return though, and it hasn't left her sound completely, but it's just recontextualized in this album in such a cool way, particularly on the track De Madruga, where the flamenco flair you can hear like tippy tapping in the background, but then the strings and the violins kind of like meld together with it, and it creates such a unique sound, and a really cool vibrant energy comes out of it. It's a really great song. Again, like with a lot of this stuff, like Rosalía is tapping into previous sounds or other sounds that maybe other artists have done, but she's just executing it in a way that feels really fresh, feels really beautifully done, and just makes for like a spellbinding listen. Like, you're entranced in some of these instrumentals, you're entranced in the vocals and the delivery throughout, and it's just like a complete new, like I keep saying this, a new level is reached on this album that I did think she could go to. I personally do love Motomami. I think it's really fun, I think it's really exciting, but there were flashes of like really interesting moments on that album that made me think, I think she could take this even further. I think she could get even better from there, and I think we're seeing that on Lux. Again, those classic flamenco sounds come on. La Rumpa del Perdón, with Silvia Perez Cruz coming on as a feature, is a really underrated Spanish-speaking artist again, by the way, but that's a really nice combination of sounds. This probably is like the catchiest classic Spanish-sounding song on the entire album. You would probably look at this track and think this would make more sense as a lead single, but obviously Rosalía went in a totally different direction. But I think if there was one song that you could justify as being like the lead track, I think you could say this. Very catchy, very sweet, very nice sounding, very summery, very classic in the sound that it's clearly enriched in. Yeah, I love this track. This is kind of like very me. Like, when I listen to this type of music, this is the kind of sound I want. And yeah, they absolutely nail it here. The final track, Magnolias, where she's exploring magnolias being thrown on her coffin. I think she's talking about herself. This is one of those things where maybe I need to really take a deeper dive into the translated lyrics and just explore a lot of these themes, because, like I say, I think religion and biblical themes are very much tackled on quite a few of these songs. And yeah, maybe having a bit more of a deeper understanding of that could make for a more enriching listen, but it definitely makes for interesting translations when you do look into the songs. But I have always said, I don't think you need to understand the language of the artist you are listening to truly appreciate it. I will always stand by that. Some of my favorite artists aren't English, and I will stand by the fact that the emotion, the power, the beauty that exuberates through the music can transcend language. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that don't agree with that, and a lot of people will avoid things that aren't in English, or they'll say that they, would rather they understand the artist that they can't understand. And I just will never subscribe to that, ever. You should subscribe to me, but I won't be subscribing to that, I'm afraid. Because, yeah, this album for me is one of the most beautiful experiences I've had in music all year. And to completely alienate myself from that because I don't understand every word she's saying would have been insane. And you are foolish if you have that attitude, because for me, this is very much in contention with my album of the year now. And I had to wait right up until November to finally truly say that with confidence in a review. There's been lots of albums I've loved this year, but this might be the final kind of cherry on top. This might be the definitive one that feels so exciting, that feels so powerful in how it's presented. And yeah, in some ways you could even argue that this is like a landmark album. The way people have spoken about it, the way people are excited about it, the fact that it is doing commercially well too, so a lot of people are paying attention to this. This feels like a real moment of the year and a moment of the decade, I think. I don't know if I'm necessarily putting it on the level of some people who are suggesting it's like, an all-timer in the same way like a Bjork has done, or it's like a Kate Bush type moment. I don't know if I'm quite there, but in terms of how I feel about the album, I am very much loving this. So maybe I will get there, and maybe I will seek to see that and understand that as time goes on. I don't know. Even regardless of that, or what people are saying, or any comparisons, I'm going to go very high with this one, man. I'm going 9 out of 10. The more I listened to it, the more it really started to click and really feel so special as a run through of a listen. Like, it is really, really fantastic. And yeah, Rosalía, my friends, oof, just killed it here. Killed it here and absolutely nailed it. And went up a level in the best kind of way, because she was already making great music. She could have stuck to that sound, but yet she's completely re-envisioned her art, taken it to a whole new level, tried something completely different, and it's paid off like crazy. Wow. Love this thing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with me? Disagree? How do you feel about this album? Yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed for more videos, more reviews. And yeah, have a good day. Goodbye.